Good evening, everyone. George Klepfer told me to tell you to sit down. So we're kind of a team here. We got a lot of jocks in the room. My neckline and waistline feels a little more imbalanced now. But we're a team, right? Right? So when I say Nichols on three, 1, 2, 3. All right, just checking. Welcome to all of you, and welcome friends and family, welcome alumni, welcome back. If you've traveled some distance, especially, welcome again, and for those of you in the area, great to have you on campus. My name's Bill Clough, for those who don't know me, and I'm the proud head of school. Before we begin, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, led by George, and all the presenters for their work in writing all these great words we're about to hear. And I really do want to take the moment to thank Blake Walsh, who's in the back. And this is his last big event. Blake, as you know, is our Director of Alumni Affairs. And Blake, I've told him this personally, but he's been an immense help to me. He's been an immense help to Nichols School. We're going to miss him, and we wish him well on his new journey, which starts next week. So thanks again, Blake. So we're here tonight to honor 10 people who made exceptional contributions to the quality and tradition of Nichols School athletics. That part's obvious. But we're also here to celebrate, I think, great teaching and coaching, hallmarks of Nichols School. And a few years ago, I love to tell this story because I love this man. One of my coaches, Norm Walker, called me before a faculty meeting. I said, Norm, what should I say? And he said the following: step up to the podium and say this: work hard and love kids, and then sit down. Your faculty will be happy that you didn't waste their time. They can go prepare their classes and their speeches. So with Norman in mind and that sound advice in mind, the message for all of us is work hard and love kids. It's my honor to hand over the reign to George Klepfer, Nichols class of 1968, Nichols teacher and coach, someone who works hard and loves kids, and also the chairperson of this committee. So thank you, George.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you all for coming here tonight to celebrate this wonderful group of people who, in their time, contributed so much to life at Nichols. Hall of Fame process has been a 1.5-year odyssey, so please bear with me while I thank a few people. First of all, the committee, I want to thank immensely, and they're listed in the program, for volunteering their time to meet, to research nominees, to deliberate and select, and to write about the inductees whom you will meet in a few short minutes. To that group of alumni, teachers, and administrators who worked so hard on this project, thank you for your dedication and wisdom. Please give them a little round of applause. Thank you. Great team. I'd also like to acknowledge all the work that the Advancement Office has done in putting events like this together, both on and off the campus. I've had the opportunity to go on the road to a couple of alumni events out of town, and I can tell you that our alumni outreach is terrific, and it buoys this longtime classroom teacher and coach to know just how much goes on behind the scenes in support of our school. So thank you, Leslie Garcia, and your fine staff for all that you do for the school. Let's give them a round of applause to them, please. Bill already preempted a bit of my next acknowledgement. I want to thank Blake Walsh for helping bring this event to fruition. I was checking my folders from the previous 2 Hall of Fame committees I've had the privilege to chair, and saw that all the notes, congratulatory letters, reminders, and lists I accumulated and sent out during that time, well, that list was diminished remarkably this time around, as each time it seemed time to do something, Blake was way ahead of me. For you MASH fans out there, Blake was Radar O'Reilly to my Colonel Potter, always one step ahead with his databases, lists, reminders, and notes. Pretty much every note went like this: "With your okay, George, I can send this out this afternoon." And I said, fine. As most of you know, Blake was leaving, and we don't know where he's going because he can't tell us or he'd kill us all. And but good luck, Blake, wherever you are, and thank you so much for all you did to bring this together. Blake, thank you. So tonight we're celebrating some extraordinary athletes. It's been a treat to explore all that they've accomplished during their athletic careers. Besides great talent, they all, in their personal biographies, are quick, to share their successes with family, coaches, and most significantly, teammates. But these personal biographies' histories provided problematic for several of our inductees, who shall remain nameless. The committee sends out a biographical questionnaire to the inductees in early April, asking them to return a completed copy to us by the middle of June so it can be used to craft the citations that you see in the program. For a few of the inductees, getting the homework assignment under a Nichols letterhead was a bit more than they could handle. In fact, it was a paralyzing experience akin to post-traumatic stress disorder for Sullivan. Some of the personal histories didn't get until August, and at some time or other, we've all had those dreams about finding out that a paper was still due from one of our alma maters and waking up in a cold sweat. What, no one? Well, I have, because I think I still owe a paper or two at Old Amherst College. But that's enough about my academic malfeasance. Let's get on with the show. And I have the privilege now of presenting the first inductee of the evening, Bobby Shuttleworth. That's in 2005. I've always thought that my son-in-law had the best excuse ever for getting out of doing something when, faced with a stack of dirty Easter dishes, dinner dishes, he once said, "Sorry, can't help, I've got to go to Antarctica." And he wasn't kidding. One of the bands he manages, Fall Out Boy, was trying to be the first band to play on every continent, and they were indeed attempting to go to Antarctica. Well, Bobby Shuttleworth tops him as to why he can't be here tonight. For the first time in Nichols Hall of Fame history, an inductee can't be here because he's competing in a major professional sports league. Bobby's the starting goalie for the Minnesota United Football Club, a.k.a. the Loons, in Major League Soccer, and they are on the road this weekend. When Bobby was playing at Nichols, it was a must-see athletic event. Bobby was an extraordinary presence on the field, on the pitch, directing every aspect of the defense in front of him, making incredible saves when called upon. Our hockey coaches would bring their goalies to the games and stand behind Bobby to watch him maneuver his defense correctly. There were few as accomplished in their dominant sport in Nichols history as Bobby was in soccer. But his defensive expertise spilled over to his second best sport, basketball, where he was a lockdown defender, always guarding the opponent's top scorer with great success. We have a short video to show you what Bobby's been up to lately.
Dylan Powers, straight down the throat of Bobby Shuttleworth. Space here for Riszner. Riszner! A smart, firm save by Bobby Shuttleworth. Ball in towards goal. It's a fabulous save from Bobby Shuttleworth. Stood up into the air, Sissy and still loitering. Driven towards goal. It's a fabulous save from Shuttleworth.
I'd like to invite Bobby's sister Kelly and his stepfather Ron to accept Bobby's plaque and to welcome Bobby into Nichols Athletic Hall of Fame.
Like George said, Bobby can't be here tonight. He has a game tomorrow, and unfortunately the coach felt that preceded, taking the right up to accept his award. But he did send his regards, his thanks. He's incredibly honored. Our whole family is incredibly honored. He couldn't be here, but we brought one of his game jerseys, which Kelly has on. Let's step out, see? Turn around. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Now I invite Grant Henniger from the class of 1966 and the Hall of Fame inductee of 2007 to present Emerson Dickman Jr., class of 1933.
Well, I'm a little bit of a collector, and my father was a Nichols graduate in class of 1939, and a few years ago I was looking at an old Nichols News from 1939, which I still happen to have, and they're listing that the class of 39 had an excellent baseball team, and they might do as well as the class of 33 when they last team to win the interstate baseball title. And then the article went on to say that that 33 team was led by Emerson Dickman, who is currently pitching with the Boston Red Sox. And they're Nichols School, Boston Red Sox. How come I had never heard of him? So I had to do a little research, and I found that he was born in 1914. He attended Nichols in the early 30s, and he was a three-sport athlete playing football and hockey. But his main passion was baseball. During his senior year in 1933, he defeated Shadyside Academy, pitching a shutout against them, and later on helped Trounce University School 22-3. They went on to win the Interstate Baseball League title. I think it was many years after that they would win it again. Following Nichols, he took his talents to Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia. His talents as an outfielder and a pitcher as a sophomore led to Washington and Lee's success in the Southern Conference Championship, with at then a school record of 17 victories and 4 defeats. Years later, he was inducted into the Washington Lee Athletic Hall of Fame as one of the greatest players ever to put on a General's uniform. While he was at Washington Lee, he was drafted by the Boston Red Sox. He played for a year or so in their minor league system, and was in 1937 he was called up to the big leagues. With the Red Sox, he played 5 seasons, compiled a record of 22-15. His best season was 1939 when he went 8-3 with a 4.43 earned run average. He ranked 3rd in the American League with 48 appearances that season and had and finished 6th with 5 saves in the American League. He also played with Hall of Famers Joe Cronin, Bobby Dahr, Jimmy Fox, Lefty Grove, and Ted Williams. He helped introduce Ted Williams when he joined the Red Sox in 1939. In 1938, as a hitter, he was 10 for 35 with a batting average of .286 and 1 home run, an on-base percentage of .375, and a slugging percentage of .429, which wasn't bad for a pitcher. His playing career with the Red Sox was cut short by World War II, but following the war, he took his knowledge to Princeton University and was the head coach at Princeton from 1949 to 1951. During that span, Princeton won the Eastern League title each of those years. That was 5 years before the Ivy League was formed. He also led Princeton to their only trip to the College World Series in 1951. It's for many of these lifetime accomplishments, it's an honor to induct Emerson Dickman into the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame.
George, you got history too? Yeah.
I'd also like to read a letter sent to us from the Boston Red Sox. To the Dickman family and the Nichols community, on behalf of John Henry, Tom Werner, and the entire Boston Red Sox front office, we are filled with joy to see that our friend Emerson Dickman is inducted in the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame posthumously. In our organization, whether you played 2 games or 1,000 games in a Red Sox uniform like Ted Williams, or only a handful of games, you will always be part of our family. We are so thankful for Emerson's contributions to our team during his 5-year career with the Red Sox and are celebrating alongside all of you on this proud day. Congratulations again on this tremendous honor, and go Vikings. Sincerely, Sam Kennedy.
Thanks, Grant, for your amazing work to discover and honor this terrific athlete. It's worth noting that Grant's recent past as well. Grant called me a couple Saturdays ago to apologize for not returning a phone call I had made to him in a timely manner. Grant said he had been in Spain. Okay, I thought, nice vacation. Asked whom he had gone with. Grant explained that his daughter Brittany had joined him. What'd you do on the trip, I asked, matter-of-factly. Fasten your seatbelts. Grant replied, I was competing in the team as part of Team USA in the World Master Track and Field Championships. Trying to catch my breath in awe, as Grant is 2 years older than I am, but without the 4 joint replacement surgeries that have left me happy just to go for a walk around the block. What event did you compete in, Grant? I asked, recalling that he had been a renowned sprinter and long jumper back in the day. Fasten your seatbelts again. Grant replied, the decathlon. For you hockey guys out there, that's 10. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I know that's a cheap shot. I knew you were coming. Okay. Grant will be glad to regale you at the post-ceremony party with tales of his 10-event effort with 8,000 other senior athletes from around the world. Let's give it up for Grant, please. I also want to thank Scott Saperston, who was instrumental in getting us in contact with the right people in the Boston Red Sox organization for this wonderful acknowledgement Grant read. And I've been in touch with Emerson Dickman's son, Emerson Dickman III, who lives in Tenafly, New Jersey, who unfortunately couldn't come, but he's very touched by this recognition for his father. He looks forward to sharing the plaque and the letter and any pictures and the program with his children and his grandchildren to show what a fine athlete his father was. So that will be going forth. I now invite Sandy Smith in the class of 1993 to present her friend and classmate Jodi Priselac to Riszner, class of 1993.
So, hi everybody. It's just so great to look out and see so many people turn out to support our athletic program and its legacy and to honor all of these exceptional individuals tonight. So I'm really honored to be here. I feel really fortunate that my parents sacrificed to send me here to be part of this incredible institution and the tradition of our athletic program. And I'm honored to have the privilege, have had the privilege to come back and every day to come back and teach and coach here in many different capacities for the last 20 years. But tonight I'm most honored because I have the privilege to induct one of my oldest and closest friends from Nichols into the Athletic Hall of Fame tonight, Jodi Priselac de Riszner. So as a freshman who came here, completely new to Nichols in the fall of 1989, I wasn't sure what I was going to play in the fall, and I showed up to the first day of field hockey because my father said, oh, Sand, you should totally try field hockey. It looks super neat. You should definitely give field hockey a shot. So I showed up, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and I knew nobody, but instantly I noticed these two freshman girls with long curly hair who clearly knew the sport and were super friendly to everybody, but they seemed to know exactly where they were going and exactly who everybody was, and one of them was definitely louder than the other one. But I had no idea who they were, but all of a sudden Bo barked, and we set off on our first task, which was running the park, right, which they seemed to be intimately familiar with, and I was reasonably overwhelmed / terrified by. But these two, they immediately made me feel welcome. And suffice it to say that running that first park left an indelible mark on my psyche, and the next day I decided to go play something that I knew a little bit better, which was volleyball. But Jodi, Amanda, and I stayed close friends and eventually became teammates that spring in softball. Jodi, I've been fortunate to be a teammate of yours and a friend of yours for over 25 years. And your athletic accolades at Nichols are many, and as you all read through her citation, you'll see that she ascended to elite levels in the region and in the state in field hockey and softball. You chose Dartmouth College because you could play sports at an elite level, but you also knew that you could push yourself in the classroom. Everywhere you go, you're an ambassador for Nichols and Nichols athletics in the Western New York community and in the numerous places that your career in media has taken you. And that includes being a part of the alumni board, competing in golf tournaments, Nichols or otherwise, beating up on Pat on courses in Arizona every once in a while. And we're in the stands supporting your two sons, current students, Jackson and Bryce. But above all, you've always stayed true to yourself, and you've been your own person. You've never chosen a sport or a job because of convention, because it was familiar, because it was easy. You always have and continue to seek out challenges and create non-traditional paths for yourself, modeling for others what it means to intrinsically and passionately push yourself with confidence, tenacity, exceptional effort, and a willingness to always make your voice heard. But it's no coincidence that in your reflections, the people who you remembered and valued for supporting and pushing you are too numerous to count. The relationships that you valued and built at Nichols and through Nichols Athletics help you to always remember and value the importance of remembering where you come from, being a team player, and encouraging and welcoming all of those out-of-place new freshmen that still cross your path. So I couldn't be more proud of you, and I'm feeling super honored to be the first person to say congratulations and welcome to the Nichols Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Sandy, for those kind words. It's hard to believe that she and I have almost known each other for 30 years, so it's a long time. Friends, family, fellow alumni, and last but not least, faculty and coaches, thank you so much for this honor. When George Klepfer, my middle school English teacher, who I was totally afraid of in middle school, called me back in February to share the news, I was literally grinning ear to ear for days. It's a true privilege to be a part of this group, and I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees. I'm very grateful for the recognition. I'm most thankful, however, for the street cred this gives me with my two boys, Jackson and Bryce, who are 9th and 6th graders here at Nichols. Mom might actually know a thing or two about sports now, so that's huge in my family. Thank you very much. In all seriousness, though, the lessons that I learned on the field and on the court here at Nichols from coaches like Beth Stone and Larry and Bo Forrestal, who Sandy referenced, and Warren Gelman, who's in the audience, who's still my coach and other things, those lessons are still a part of my life every day, and I use them daily. The confidence that I gleaned from both success and failure here and in athletics in general makes me who I am. So lastly, I really want to thank my parents, Joe and Linda Priselac, not only for the physical attributes they gave me, but more importantly, the opportunity they gave me to be an athlete. Thank you for all the time and effort you put into raising me. That was not an easy job. And you guys are the best two coaches a kid could have. So thank you, everybody, and go Nichols.
Congratulations, Jodi. Now I invite John Wright from the class of 1966, Hall of Fame inductee of 2010, to present his teammate, classmate, and friend George Kreiner, class of 1966.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight with all of the inductees and the past and present members of the Hall of Fame. It's my pleasure to be able to present to you my classmate, my teammate, and my friend George Kreiner for election to the Nichols School Hall of Fame. George and I played together on every team at Nichols and had great success due to the amazing athletes in the class of 1966. Grant Henniger, Dick Alexiak, Hank DePiro, Chip Coley, and many others made the experience an amazing one. We won the New York State Hockey Championships as kids with the help of the great players in the classes of 63, 64, and 65. Many of you who are in here today, that was the glory days of the Shamrocks. That was the beginning of it. We won the prestigious Lawrenceville tournament in 1965, and we were undefeated interstate champs in our senior year in football. Yet George's greatest achievements in sport came from his experience at UVM hockey. He was a 4-year starter and captain in 69 and 70, ECAC champion in 1970, ECA All-Star and All-Vermont team in 69 and 70. George was the first Division I All-American from Nichols in any sport. Elected to the UV Hall of Fame in 1980 and the All-UVM team in 2004. George was the Bruce Smith of our football team and the Chris Chelios of our hockey team. His aggressive, bone-crushing style earned him the nickname of Earthquake Kreiner at UVM. He has taken up serious cycling in the last decades, and those who ride with him affectionately call him Crash Kreiner, preferring to ride ahead of him in any race. Whether it was billfish tournaments in the Keys, doubles squash in the Masters tournaments, or just friendly golf, it's all a contact sport for George. George has never learned to do anything halfway. For your fierce competitive spirit and your many accomplishments at the highest level of competition, We are proud to elect you, George Kreiner, to the Nichols School Hall of Fame.
Jonathan, you shouldn't have brought up some of those stories. First of all, I want to thank the Nichols School Selection Committee. I looked through all of our recipients tonight, and I see athletes, and I mean athletes that played 3 different sports, excelled at all 3 sports, and myself, when I first was called about, George called me, and I said, you know, I don't think I qualify. I think there are so many members of our class of 66, guys that had 13 or 12 varsity letters. I think of Chip Coley and Phil Brennan, the Caney brothers, all fantastic athletes. And so I feel very honored. So I want to thank the committee, and I also just want to take a minute what a special night this is for me. All my family's here. My 3 children all went to Nichols. All of my children played multiple sports here, as opposed to me being kind of a one-dimensional sport. But my son Will, his wife Amber, and Grayson and Zayden, and Betsy and Jay McCarthy with Elise and Emmett, and my daughter Sarah, husband Gary, and I don't see Tucker or Teddy. So Sarah, my daughter, was just inducted into the St. Lawrence Hall of Fame. So I'm very proud of her. She was here again at 3 years at Nichols, and she got inducted for squash. So anyway, hockey for me was the sport that I loved. It was Chip Coley's dad and Bill Russell's dad that started me in the Shamrocks. And then Rod Dash and I, remember when I was in 8th grade, just said, you know, you're slow. You don't have a particularly good shot. If you concentrate on one thing, being a body checker, you could be good at this game. And he said, I want you to be the hardest working guy at practice. And that's what I did. And the great athletes that we had here at Nichols when I was here, and I speak specifically of John, I think John and I have been friends for 60 years. And John was extraordinary athlete, along with Dick Alexiak and Grant. And so anyway, I ended up going to Vermont. I thought I was going to Harvard. Unfortunately, I wasn't admitted. And the headmaster here at the time was Phil Bucock. When we were talking about Harvard, said, you know, I think if you take your board scores, multiply them by 2, and drop your class rank from 52 to 2, out of 56 that is, you might have a shot at Harvard. So never quite made it. But I ended up going to Vermont, and I was going to go to Boston University, and the coach of Vermont said, look, you can go to BU and be a little fish in a big pond, or you can come to Vermont and be a big fish in a little pond. And I had a career there that was beyond my wildest dreams. It was 4 years of just a wonderful time, provided me with an opportunity to start a business. My son Will and daughter Betsy were born in Vermont. It was just a wonderful experience. So I've got one unrelated story, and I will tell that. It's about coming back to Buffalo and then trying to recreate that joy that I had playing at Vermont. I decided to start playing double squash. And so I worked at it, and as a good double squash player, you pick the best guy in town. And I picked Peter DeRose, who was in dental school at the time. So we end up playing some tournaments, and we end up in the Nationals, and we beat the number 2 ranked team in the country, and we're coming back to Buffalo with a trophy in the back of the car, and we stop at Customs, and he said, where are you coming from? I said, Detroit. What are you doing? We were playing in the National Doubles Champion. How'd you do? I said, well, we came in, we won the consolation, so we'll probably be ranked 2nd in the country. He looks at me, looks at Peter, and he said, well, you must be really proud. A father and son team winning a national tournament. So that kind of ended my thoughts of my career, and now I find myself many moons later as kind of a fat old grandfather, very happy, and I'm most pleased to have my family here and the people I love, and Kathy, and all the things that you bring to me on a daily basis to make me a better human being. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, George. I now invite Carl and Jake Giarrano to present our next inductee, Bridget Callahan-Giarrano, class of 1977.
About 45 years ago, Bridget and I had made plans to meet here at school after a track meet and go on a date. And I arrived here a couple minutes early, wanted to catch some of her track meet. And so I was walking around campus, looking around, and I don't see a girls' team. I don't see any girls at all. All I see is these guys. All of a sudden I look over and I kind of recognize her silhouette there, and I see that she's running on the guys' team, and she's winning. And she's still that fast today, and boy, is she fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, most people don't believe we started going out in high school, and this is where we had our first date from here. So it's kind of neat to be back. But I feel privileged to be here. I would like to congratulate the other inductees. It's an honor to be going into the hall with such an outstanding group. I would also like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, my teachers and my coaches, who took the time to nurture me in athletics and academics. In addition, I would like to thank my family for all their support. My parents showed me how to work hard, reach my full potential, and pursue a career that I loved. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I am truly grateful for all the sacrifices that they've made. I would not be here without the support of my husband Carl and my son Jake. Without the both of you, I could not have coached 2 sports for 37 years. Nichols went co-ed in 1974. They contacted me to see if I wanted to go to school here. I didn't know how to respond because I still thought it was an all-boys school. But after I got the facts straight, I decided I have the opportunity to attend one of the most prestigious high schools in Western New York, and I could be part of their new athletic program. I was in, and I was excited. That fall, I ended up being one of the first freshman girls to enter the class here as an oncoming freshman. I joined the school soccer and basketball teams. I never played either sport before. My dad was a 3-sport Hall of Famer, and for some odd reason, I thought his genes would come directly into me, and I would be awesome. Well, I was wrong. Those sports were a lot harder than I thought they were. However, in the spring, I ran for the boys' track team. Today, it's common for girls to be on boys' team. Back then, it was unheard of. There were 2 other girls who were suing their school district so they could run with the boys. Nichols welcomed me to run with the boys. The coaches and team treated me like one of the guys when we were working out or running. In addition, they always behaved like gentlemen. They even carried my starting blocks for me. I could not ask for better teammates or coaches. During one of our first meets against Bennett High School, I was running the 220. As I was running, I could see some people laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, they're laughing at me because I'm a girl running on the boys' team. And once I finished, someone came up to me and said, they're not laughing at you. There were 2 Bennett boys behind you, and they saw that you were beating them. They stopped running, they walked off the track, and they quit the team. Nichols gave me the opportunity to get the best possible education in New York. They prepped me for college, academics, and athletics at Cortland State. They embraced females into their all-male school, and they broke the gender barrier of track and field in New York State. For that, I am truly thankful. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bridget. Now invite Greg Hans from the class of 1992 to present his teammate, classmate, and friend, David Seitz, also the class of 1992.
Good evening. It's a privilege to be here tonight to introduce my good friend, David Seitz, class of 1992, into the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame. I've had the pleasure of knowing David and the Seitz family since the age of 4 when we started skating in Niagara Falls, and over the years was fortunate enough to have played with him on many hockey and baseball teams, including our time at Nichols. From an early age, David's talent was evident to us all. In his first year of organized hockey, he scored 99 goals and never really slowed down after that. That ability he exhibited didn't come by accident. I know David spent countless hours working at his craft, always shooting pucks in his driveway during the summer, or skating for hours on the backyard ice rink during the winter, or trying out a new and innovative power skating board when ice time wasn't available. Anything that could make him a better player. His stats and achievements are well documented and pretty darn impressive. However, having known David for all these years, I was afforded the opportunity to see that his commitment, positive attitude, leadership skills, and respectful confidence as a person and also as a teammate were just as impressive as his stats. These qualities always led David to being voted a team captain and inspired us all to be better than we ever thought we could be. They say the sign of a really great player in any sport is to make those around you better, and that's something he has always excelled at. Although David is most talked about as a hockey player, he was also a really good soccer and baseball player, which he lettered in both at Nichols, and when time allowed, a pretty good golfer as well. After leaving Nichols, David's hockey career continued at Clarkson, where he became a member of their 100-point club, and then he spent the next 9 years as a professional player, where one of his many achievements included the South Carolina Stingrays teams to 2 Kelly Cup championships. Upon his retirement from professional hockey, his number 14 jersey was retired by the South Carolina Stingrays, and then he was elected into the East Coast Hockey League Hall of Fame, where he finished as a top 10 leading scorer in the league's history. With that said, it gives me great honor to welcome my friend David Seitz into another Hall of Fame, the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame.
First of all, I want to congratulate all the Hall of Fame inductees. I'm honored to be part of such a tremendous group of athletes. Thank you to Greg Hans for being my presenter. I've been friends with Greg almost 40 years now, and Greg is not only one of the best athletes I've ever seen, but he's a better friend. Not once have I ever had to call Greg and say, hey, why are you running the Chicken Man at the Brick Bar last night? Sorry, Saplinski, you know I was going to bring that up. I want to say thank you to Nichols for what I describe as the Nichols experience. It's not just academics and a diploma, but an experience that changed my life. I arrived here in 7th grade as a timid young boy and graduated as a fearless man ready to take on the world. I learned from all the great teachers how to challenge myself, how to meet the high academic standards that Nichols demands. The teachers in Nichols prepared me well for college, but it's on the rink and the athletic fields that taught me about life. Being a part of such great teams taught me how to sacrifice and prepare to win. It's not just showing up on game day and hoping to win, it's the hard work that goes into every day leading up to that. I was fortunate to have great coaches like Mr. Sakeli, Mr. Stone, Mr. Truscott, and Rick Romali teach me how to win on a daily basis. The lessons I've learned from them on and off the ice I still use every day. There's so many people I'd like to thank, so forgive me if I miss any of you. I want to thank all my classmates and my teammates. Thanks to Sully, Brink, Whitey, Jay McCarthy, Satchar, Kovac, the Bridges, the Blairs, the Rosanskis, Cliffy, the Sittlers, the Carazatos, the Saperstons, the Conshafters, Sarah and Mr. Gelman, the Schatzels, Stephanie Baker, and the class of 1992. I want to thank all my coaches, especially Mr. Frank Sakeli, Mr. Stone, and Rick Romali for believing in me. You gave me the direction and confidence to chase down all my dreams. I want to thank Mark Morris, George Roll, and Clarkson University for giving a scholarship to a skinny little kid from Grand Island. You gave me all the tools I needed to achieve my dream of playing professional hockey. I want to thank Greg Hans and Eric Saplinski for not only being great friends, but for being part of the unit. I played with many great lines in my years, but nobody has given me greater joy than playing with you. Even if Chipper did knock the net off on Greggy's game-winning goal, cost us the game. Thanks to Uncle David, Uncle Randy, Uncle Sylvie, Uncle Roy, Aunt Ruthie, Aunt Marcia, and Aunt Chi-Chi for all your love and support. I I want to thank my nieces and nephews, Chase, Cole, Brooke, Henry, Rory, and Maisie. Thanks to Matt and Kate for being part of our family and treating me like a brother. I couldn't ask for two better people to share the rest of our lives with. Thanks to my brothers and sisters, Kelly, Casey, and Abby, for everything. I know it wasn't easy growing up, spending every weekend at a hockey rink. You were always there for me, win or lose, with a smile on your face and love in your heart. Words can't explain how much you mean to me. Most of all, thank you to my parents. All the sacrifices you made for me to go Nichols are endless. Even after my first year of 7th grade, when I came home and told my parents, "You're wasting your money," you didn't let me quit. I was overwhelmed by Nichols and how hard the academic standards were. You didn't let me give up. You kept building that ice rink in the backyard every winter. You spent every weekend driving me all over Buffalo and Canada so I could play the sports that I love. Your love and support helped me achieve my dreams, and I love you both very much. Once again, I want to congratulate all the Hall of Fame inductees. Thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor. I will cherish this always.
Congratulations, David. I'll invite Larry Desatel, Nichols faculty member and now in his 40th season as Nichols varsity soccer coach, to present Kyle Walsh, class of 1995.
Seems like yesterday. I've read in many places and have seen the occasional piece of evidence to suggest the same, that with few exceptions, female athletes are wretchedly poor sports. A man or a boy, apparently, can view this opponent with complete personal detachment after a contest, but a woman or a girl, not so. I open with that in part to get your attention, and in part to introduce one of those apparent few exceptions. I assure you that Kyle Walsh is being recognized for her sportswomanship, but more importantly, for her personal attachment to her teammates and to her opponents, and to the greater world since she left the field and the ice and the diamond as a Nichols athlete. I wish her mother, Connie, were here with us tonight. Her asides to me and to other spectators and Kyle's and Blake's seemingly endless string of games were always commentary beyond our seats and our venues. She would have enjoyed this. She'd be proud. Complete personal attachment is and will be Kyle's legacy. Her life of care and service and leadership since leaving both Nichols and Harvard should remind us all that athletics, especially team sports, are based on the desire to achieve a common goal. The final score is always a team score. Kyle understood this. Kyle understands this. I know that this recognition tonight makes her uncomfortable, for she always felt that she achieved athletically as one of, not as one, or as the one. Often when we speak of the gifted athlete, the tendency is to measure such with qualities such as speed and size and quickness and hands and vision. I think, however, the finest gift an athlete can have is the one that she offers the team every day, that commitment to make teammates better competitors and better people while doing the same for herself. Kyle Walsh was and remains in this way, a gifted athlete. While many possess those other qualities or gifts when they're young, those physical qualities that grace our fields and courts and rinks, adding to team success and stats, those physical gifts often disappear into memory or live on only in a record book or on a plaque. This room is filled with athletic history, individual and team, those we've elevated, as well as some of the elevators of those who excelled for this school and beyond. Kyle Walsh is being honored tonight for her accomplishment in sports, but having coached her for 4 years in the team sport, I can say that her greatest accomplishment, at Nichols certainly, was that she valued the opportunity to compete with her teams for her school. Her teammates knew it and followed her. They enjoyed themselves in turn while working hard to improve their game and to learn skills that would help them excel later in boardrooms, in hospitals, in courtrooms, and in family rooms. Kyle once told me that her most enjoyable athletic experiences were here at Nichols on the soccer field. Maybe she was just trying to humor an old man, but I believe her, for I saw her gift of commitment to her sport and to her team every day. I saw her treat each practice session as a performance, not simply a space holder between contests. My son Greg, who is Kyle's friend and classmate, told me Kyle was very humble, but also very hard on herself, and she didn't like losing. She remembered the losses more than the wins. She never embraced the continental shrug, the such is life, whatever shall be gesture of the casually committed. Thanks for letting me poach that, Greg. I didn't have many opportunities to see her play hockey before she went off to captain the Harvard Crimson, where she set a record for consecutive games played and to win the national championship. Ironically, I knew she played hockey, but as with another one of our honorees tonight, Marykate Oakley, there was never a conflict that impacted her commitment to soccer. I wish I could say the same thing today about our athletes. Kyle's team, in particular, in any particular season, was her only team, or at least she made it appear so. She never looked forward to the next season, the next team. That's become a rarity. What I wrote about Kyle years ago in a letter nominating her for a Scholar Athlete Award remains true to her about her life today, a life more about service to community than leadership in sports. She lives by the law of commitment. You're either in or you're out, and she's always in, and her teams followed her in. And for this, she deserves our recognition and applause tonight and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. It really means a lot to me to have you be the person that inducted me. First and foremost, congratulations to the other inductees. I'm really honored to be included in this group with all of you. Thank you to the selection committee as well. When I got a call from Blake and George Klepfer about this honor several months ago and I was in my pajamas, my response was, "Are you guys having a thin year or something?" I was really surprised, but that's matched how genuinely humbled and honored and happy I am to receive this award. Thank you so much. I've noticed many friends and family in the crowd, as well as some teachers and coaches, and it's really good to see everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to start by thanking some women in my life for paving the way. First, my grandmother, Sally Walsh, who was one of my heroes, is a member of the Park Athletic School Hall of Fame and is as loving and strong a person as I've ever met in my life. Thank you, Grammy. Second, my Aunt Nan, my mom's older sister, she was running marathons back in the 70s before it was cool, and certainly before many women were encouraged to do so. Thank you, Nan. I don't know if she's here, but my elementary and middle school PE instructor and coach, Debbie Clark, was a phenomenal teacher, athlete, and role model, and I was so lucky to have her and Tom Ryan provide a phenomenal sports program for the 9 years I was at Elmwood Franklin. More importantly, my brother and my parents and I thank you for guiding and inspiring and taking care of us as we grew up. Thank you, Debbie and Tom. Special thank you to Larry Desitels. I can honestly say that playing soccer for you with a Nichols jersey on were my happiest memories in high school. I lived and breathed for soccer season in its fierce competition. We had 4 winning seasons, 4 very tough teams that were fun. I remember one day we were playing like crap, and at halftime Larry said, "Now go out there and win, and if you can't win, at least go run someone over," which was a great mantra. You taught me how to work hard, you taught me how to play tough, and we traveled to Lewiston, we traveled to Schenectady, and we even traveled to Europe, and playing soccer with you was always pure joy. I never wanted the season to end, and I think our teams literally would have walked off a bridge for you. You also made me want to be a smart, well-read, and good person, so thank you so much. I had some incredible soccer and softball teammates at Nichols. I want to thank Kate Weinreeb, Lisa Trotter, Christina Nasenzone, Molly Ratchuk, Megan Sittler, Aisha Barnes, Sarah Klepfer, Charlotte Henniger, Sarah Gelman, Tina Wagley, Sarah Schatzel, Jodi Priselac, Sandy Smith. I especially want to acknowledge the Gelman family. It is really debatable whether girls hockey in Western New York and then therefore at Nichols would be where it is today or even exist if Warren Gelman hadn't willed them into existence. Thank you so much, Warren. You scrabbled this team together from all across Western New York and Pennsylvania, and off we went to Southern Ontario and all over New York State. And we went from getting absolutely killed in our first years to winning state championships and competing at a national level. Those teams were a true family, people from all different backgrounds. I wouldn't be the same person without that experience. So I want to thank the Sittler family, the Jackson family, the Totten family, and thank you to my dear friends and teammates, Jamie, Megan, Sarah, Lisa, Shelley. Thank you so much. I also want to recognize a very special teammate with whom I played soccer, softball, and ice hockey, both at Nichols and with Bisons, and who was a flat-out superstar, and that's Sarah Gelman. In my humble opinion, every female hockey player in Western New York and at Nichols owes a debt to you. You were the best skater I've ever seen. You had a preternaturally Gretzky-like sense of space and movement, both on the soccer field and on the ice. You skated circles around all the boys and then all the girls through our years together, while I would only try to keep up with you. You were my first soccer captain at Nichols. You watched out for me. And you cleaned my clock the first time we played Colby in college on the ice. You were the first and the best. Thank you. Thank you to my amazing extended family of aunts, uncles, and cousins. You have always provided so much love and support. I've watched my cousins Demi and Abby play hockey for the Nichols girls team with pride and jealousy that it wasn't here when I was around. I've looked at college team photos of my dad, uncles, and grandfathers and dreamed of having my own like that someday. Unfortunately, Uncle Mike, I can't rock the sick mutton chop look in your '74 hockey picture, but I wanted to be a hockey god like you. Thank you, Blake, for everything. You let me push you around until you had your late growth spurt, and then you really could have kicked the crap out of me, but you didn't. You were also such a gifted athlete, a Nichols soccer captain, a lightning-quick hockey player, and I've always admired your humility, toughness, and sweetness. I love you, Blake. Finally, I want to thank my parents. I think I really started to think of my mother as a friend sometime in high school when we were spending so much time on the road, driving all over the place to hockey tournaments where she then had to stand in some cold, stinky rink for the bazillionth time. Dad, the best gift that you ever gave me was never letting the fact that I was born a girl make any difference about how you treated my athletic development. You taught me how to play catch and how to skate. You corrected the man in the skate shop when he tried to fit me in figure skates instead of hockey skates. You bought me books about baseball and took me to Sabres, Bisons, and Bills games on the regular. You helped coach my Bisons team during high school and saw us to 3 back-to-back state championships. A great athlete in your own right, I used to look at your college and baseball picks and hope that I could be like you someday. I'm so grateful for you, your love and Mom's love, support, and sacrifices for whatever I wanted to be. Thank you, Dad. I love you. And thank you to Nichols. I'm really fortunate to have attended this school. I had wonderful teachers who taught me how to think, how to be a full person. And I had incredible experience in both athletics and the arts, and I think it's important in today's world to know that you can do both. Having an education like this was truly a privilege, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Congratulations, Kyle. A quick anecdote before I introduce the next presenter. The fall of 1982, Nichols was playing a Friday night football game in Ron Jaworski Stadium in Lackawanna against Timon. A tremendous storm was coming in off the lake with gale force winds and howling rain that had erased whatever lines had once been on the field. Led by head referee and crackerjack South Buffalo meteorologist Mud McGrath, it was decided the lightning visible far off to the west over Lake Erie would never reach Lackawanna, but the game would go on. Timon kicked off with the wind, booting the ball well out of the end zone. We took over on what seemed to be the 20-yard line. And after 3 soggy plays got us about 7 yards, we had to punt. Our long snapper snapped it perfectly. Our very good punter caught it at his waist, took 2 steps in the muck, and hit the ball solidly with his right foot. Sound of the ball hitting foot, our linemen released to go into coverage downfield. The ball and Mother Nature, however, had other ideas. The ball, once airborne, got about as far as the line of scrimmage, went straight up into the air, and landed about 10 yards behind the punter. Stunned punter. Needless to say, Timon had some pretty good field position scored and went on to win the game. And I want to invite Joe Sullivan from the class of 1984 to present his brother and punter of that 82 team, Matt Sullivan, class of 1983.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, it really is an honor to be here and induct my brother Matt into the Nichols Hall of Fame. And to meet all these other super talented athletes, it's just a great honor. What I'm really psyched to say thank you for, too, is Carl, because I'm going to keep this shorter than yours. Matthew John Sullivan is a third of Nancy and Jodi Sullivan's 4 kids. It's Matt's younger brother. I think it was 1976 when I really understood who Matt was. That was the year our mom went back to work for the first time in Matt and my life, and we realized we're on our own. We got to make our own sandwiches. For those of you that know Matt, this wasn't going to end well for me. I made lunch and realized it was going to be one long road for me in the shadow of Matt's direct and nasty demeanor. Matt is a South Buffalo kid that had a God-given fire when it came to sports. For a Sullivan, he was tall, not a lineman, certainly more skilled than Mike and I. To give you a feel for both Matt's personality and talent, in the fall of '81, he threw for 400-plus yards, and we beat St. Francis. Winning wasn't enough. After the game, John Daniel and I watched our 2 alpha male older brothers, Paul and Matt, punish a fellow South Buffalonian who played for St. Francis. Paul, I'm sure, after the event, would love to regale you with all the details that precipitated the event. Baseball was clearly Matt's favorite sport. A 90-plus mile-an-hour pitch was Matt's main dish. In the spring of '83, Matt was our lead horse, once again playing St. Francis at Old Memorial Stadium. Back in those days, counting pitches wasn't popular, so any game that was important, Matt pitched. We always knew when Matt was good and irritated, we had a better shot at winning, so luckily it came natural for him, so he was pretty irritated. That day, Matt hit first in warm-ups, and needless to say, the first pitch, literally the first pitch out of the jugs machine hit Matt right in the shoulder, and he walked away fuming. Watching this unravel as a younger brother was absolutely hysterical. I loved the jugs machine that day because Matt mowed him down, K after K after K, and we won the Georgetown Cup. Sports aside, Matt's greatest source of pride is unequivocally his 2 children, Haley and Jack, and his 30-year marriage to Mary Beth Muty. Mary Beth was Matt's grammar school sweetheart, and mine too. I don't know if she knows, but no, she does know. Once again, Matt won. Matthew John Sullivan, as your proud little brother, I'm honored to induct you into the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, my brother Joe. He'll be on display at O'Daniel's around 8:30. Good evening, everyone. To the induction committee, thank you very much. George, the call that we received was great, very unexpected. The other inductees, congratulations. Specifically, the so many great female athletes, and Marykate, I can't wait to hear your story next. But Bone Crusher, I want to see you in South Buffalo this Saturday. Bone Crusher. 4 years ago, my brother Mike stood here and he talked about gaining his stride at Nichols, both academically and athletically, and he, as well as my brother Joe, certainly did that. Upon reflection, though, I really can't say the same thing. Joe kind of told you or familiarized you with my thought process back in the day, but and I thought, like, how would my parents describe my experience here? And what I came up with, Mike and Joey strided through Nichols. I think my parents would tell you I strolled through Nichols. It was a grind for me. I did anything I needed to do to get me through the school day until 3 o'clock happened. The bell rang and sports started. That's all I cared about. And I kind of have a little private regret about not taking better advantage of Nichols academics, and I probably received a better education than I probably deserved at the time. So I just wanted to say that. That was kind of interesting when I started putting some notes together. I had a short conversation with George about it. But 35 years removed from Nichols, my memories of great games, great plays, statistics really is foggy at best. My greatest memories of Nichols, and thank God for no social media, but going from the junior and senior lounge to the locker room and on the bench and in practices and bus rides were just hysterical. Playing varsity sports with my younger brother Joe for 2 years drove me absolutely batshit crazy. There's no other, I showed my wife the remarks and I'm like, she asked me, "You're going to say that?" I go, "How would you describe it?" She goes, "Say it." But it was, looking back on it, it was absolutely hysterical. And when Joey gets on a roll at family gatherings and he starts telling our kids about some of these stories, it's just priceless. The teammates, too numerous to name, but here are a few. Brian Never Passed the Puck Gaswick. Joey Bannock, Joey B. Larry Selnicker, just fabulous friend, great player. Kurt Weber, Al Randasio. The Danube brothers, the Torgalski brothers. Joe Tomizzi and I had a great track record on the football field as well as the baseball field. Doug Bradley, Doug Bray, and so many others. But looking back at it, I tried to think about, who really stuck out in my mind. And what I came up with was Paul Daniel and I probably played on 30 teams together. From the time we were in grammar school through high school, probably 10 or 12 years of summer ball, 4 years of college. And in my mind, Paul Daniel was the best athlete I've ever played with, and just even a better human being. But ironically, we kind of had a very similar attitude at life back then. We love to compete. So Gaz, Joey B, sorry about that. Paul got the nod. I'm very thankful for the coaches at Nichols, starting with Jim Walsh, freshman football coach. He was also my freshman math teacher. And first year at Nichols is a transition for everyone. Mr. Waltz really helped me through my freshman year and helped me in math in the next 3 years. The great George Klepfer and Tim McCarthy, by the way, he managed the summer work program. I don't know if Tim and I are talking. I'm talking terms right now, but George Truscott, Henry Waters, Andy Anderson, and the infamous Crash Kreiner. However, the two most influential coaches in my career, my athletic career, are without a doubt my grammar school coach, Jack Jodi, and my college coach, Don Kolpois. And I don't know if, I believe Mr. Jodi is here somewhere, but unfortunately Mr. Kolpois passed away a couple months ago, and he is surely missed. As I said, Mr. Jodi coached Joey and I, as well as the Danues in grammar school, And we had great teams. We routinely won the city championships. And he taught us at a very young age 3 things, and I'll never forget this. Competing mattered, winning mattered, and being a good teammate mattered most. Principles that I hopefully carry through life. Mr. Copoys coached Paul Daniel and I at Canisius for 4 years, and he had a very unique way with words. And I always tell people he should have been a football coach. You know, if you ever watched Hard Knocks on HBO, that is JV intensity compared to Mr. Copoys. He had very select words, very choice words for maybe the occasional unmotivated player, maybe an opposing coach, and he had an unbridled disdain for umpires, and it was hilarious to watch. Next, I'd like to mention just competing against Timon, Canisius, and St. Joe's. Some of my closest friends in the world, to this day, played the same sports I did. Much bigger schools, but we were in the Monsignor Martin League. And we were always competitive in football against those steroid-infested large schools. But the reality is, when winter and spring rolled around, we took over at hockey and baseball. We owned them. But it was great competing against some of my best friends, and we have great stories whenever we get together. I'm going to take a few minutes here, George. My girlfriend and I are walking down Abbott Road, my wife now, and a blue van approaches, door slides open, and my friends pelt us with raw eggs. And I got my dad's beige Barracuda jacket on, and I'm covered in eggs. Little that they weren't thinking ahead, though. The next day, less than 24 hours later, we were playing Timon here at Nichols. I was pitching. I was rested, and I was angry. True story. Game starts. I hit the first 2 guys, trying my best to hit the third, and Andy Anderson blows a cork. So put the end of that. I'm not sure whether we won or not, but I think I hit 4 or 5. And that, you know, I didn't care about winning. I wanted to torture my friends. Loved it. But without a doubt, the highlight of my athletic career is the Georgetown Cup win when I was a senior. Just a great accomplishment for the entire team, the good school, and in a way, in my own personal way, it was a way of legitimizing Nichols athletics against the big schools at that time. We had a very strong regular season. I think we beat St. Joe's and Canisius in the early rounds of the playoffs, and somehow we managed to come from behind against St. Francis and win the thing. And it was a great way to end my Nichols career because I think we graduated 4 or 5 days later. But contrary to what my brother said, it really wasn't a good day for me. I was running on fumes back then, and I vividly recall not pitching well, but receiving tremendous support from underclassmen. John Daniel made 2 great plays at third base, and I looked this up, John, so this is true. One of them was throwing a guy at home on a squeeze bunt. Ronnie Torgalski and my brother Joe turned a couple double plays up the middle, but it was underclassmen that did it. 6 of the 9 starters on that team were underclassmen, which I think was really good. So we graduated a couple days later, a great way to end the career, but without a doubt, the 2 people who worked the hardest to get me through this school were my parents. Just complete selflessness. My mother made sure we were fed, rested, and I needed to be kept on task, and she did that. My father's quiet strength is probably what I needed exactly at that time of my life, being a teenager. But I also want to thank my siblings, Mike, Joey, Maureen, all leaders in their respective field, and my wife's family. We had been hitched since 6th grade. She was in 7th, by the way. I grew up in their living room. Their parents went to all my games, and we shared at least 1,000 laughs over the time. But thank you to my incredible wife, Mary Beth, my 2 kids, Haley and Jack, who couldn't be here tonight. And Mary Beth, I'm thinking back, was she was my Uber to and from Nichols before Uber was Uber. Drove me everywhere, thank God. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Nichols. Nichols was a proving ground for me that I could do it. And athletics was my comfort zone. And it's a great privilege for me to be here tonight and be a part of this community. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Now I invite Sarah Gettleman-Carney from the class of 1992 to present Marykate Oakley, class of 2004. Don't forget the picture. Don't forget the picture. After you're done.
Congratulations to all the inductees, and special shout-outs to teammates being inducted this evening, Jodi, Priselac, Riszner, David Seitz, and Kyle Walsh. Thank you. Marykate Oakley, it has been a pleasure to be your coach and your friend, and sometimes, just for fun, just pretend or imagine what it was like the day the townspeople around South Buffalo found out you retired from competitive Irish dancing and the third-generation family legacy at Mount Mercy Academy to attend Nichols School and play ice hockey, and you were going full speed. As always, 100% of the time, you're going as fast as you can. You pivot quickly in adversity, and you are one of the hardest working, most humble, exceptionally performing athletes of your era. You praise and sincerely credit your teammates who made up some of the most competitive girls' teams in school history. Your record is one of academic highest honors, immeasurable virtuous character, consistent service and loyalty, and all along the way, your peers picked you for positions of leadership. So we honor you and we celebrate you for your wonderful example in your life, including athletics. You exhibit your strength modestly, and all should know you truly do not like this attention. You have a quick wit and possess an excellent ability to downplay the great investments you make in family, in your career, and in your community. You lift so many people up, teams, classmates, family, and friends. You strive for positivity, and you always perform thoughtfully. And for these reasons and many, many more, we induct you, Marykate Oakley, into the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Quick photo of your stuff. Let's get it moving. Women's sports icon Mia Hamm once said, "Somewhere behind the athlete you become in the hours of practice, and the coaches who pushed you as a little girl who fell in love with the game and never looked back." Well, no disrespect to Mia, but I think it's precisely in these moments that highlight just how important it is to look back, to reflect on it and express appreciation for meaningful experiences in people. And so to start, I'd like to thank Blake and the entire Hall of Fame selection committee for all of their contributions to this incredible tradition. To my fellow inductees, congratulations. It's a privilege to share this honor with you. I never imagined I'd be standing up here, especially since I understand Anne-Marie Celino tried to sabotage my nomination by telling the committee I was, quote, the most god-awful runner she's ever seen in her life. In fairness to her, it was not the first time I'd heard this sentiment. In fact, Larry Desitels once told me I was slower than ooze. Thank you. And it was not uncommon for my mom to yell from the hockey stands, "Marykate, get the piano off your back." Humbling experiences for sure, and perhaps not unsurprising that I've gone on to become a clinical psychologist. Research. And as a therapist, I believe in the power of relationships and gratitude. In fact, we know that expressing gratitude daily improves mental and physical health. So basically, giving this speech is better than going to the gym, and I'm counting it as today's workout on my watch. But these values of relationships and gratitude were instilled in me long before grad school. Through my experiences growing up in South Buffalo, playing organized sports, and having the incredible good fortune of attending a school like Nichols. I'm eternally indebted to Pam and John Henrich for their generous support in making me a Henrich Scholar. To the Walsh and Gelman families who treated me like one of their own all these years,
I hope you know how much your support means to me. And to my Nichols teachers who are educators and coaches, your mentorship in and out of the classroom has influenced how I interact with my own students and patients. Larry, you may not know this, but you used to have a buffalo paperweight on your desk, and when I would visit every single day, every single study hall, I would play with it. It was like the original fidget. And when I graduated, you gave it to me, or I stole it. It's a little fuzzy, but the point is that I have it, and I have it in my office, and I keep it on my desk. And I think of you when I'm trying to reach an angsty teen or connect with a student who's a little bit different and not quite getting it. Although I was a three-sport athlete at Nichols, hockey was always my passion, and no one impacted my development as a hockey player more than Sarah and Warren G. Talk about the coaching dream team. With the shake of a head, it's just like that, you knew exactly how you were playing or the quality of video you selected for the bus. It turns out Warren G isn't a big fan of Cruel Intentions, and I believe his direct quote was, "filthy." Both individually and together, you helped me realize my dream of playing D1 hockey, and you gave me the confidence and support I needed to feel a sense of belonging, first at Nichols and ultimately at Princeton. I was lucky to have you as high school coaches and feel even luckier that you remain important people in my life to this day. Undoubtedly, my fondest memories of being a soccer, softball, and hockey player here at Nichols are the special relationships and memories I've shared with teammates across the season. There are too many to acknowledge individually, but it's been so inspiring to see the amazing things these women have gone on to do. Even you, Selena, you're doing all right. Finally, and most importantly, I would literally not be standing here without my family. Thank you to my extended family and South Buffalo family who are able to be here tonight. I first got into hockey because of my brother Connor. I got tired of being dragged to watch his games at Kaz and begged my parents to let me try it. My sister Nora chose Irish dancing over sports, but her level of support is perhaps best reflected by the fact she can evaluate the caliber of French fries in every ice rink between here and London, Ontario. And I've always loved when they can make it to a game, because their encouragement over the years has meant the world to me. My parents worked hard to send me to Nichols, and they made countless sacrifices so I could play multiple sports every season. Mom and Dad, thank you for being my #1 fans, for supporting my goals, and for always modeling humility, hard work, and selflessness. Words fall so short in expressing the gratitude I have for these gifts. And finally, to my wife, Carly, thank you for challenging me and supporting me every day. There is no doubt that you are the best athlete in our family. Nichols has always held a very special place in my heart. It taught me how to think, how to compete, and how to grow as a person with character and tenacity and perseverance. And as I look back somewhere behind the athlete I became, it's the relationships and memories I made here that continue to shape me into the person I'll become. And for that, and for this honor, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Congratulations, Marykate. And I have the pleasure to present my teammate and friend, Chris Sadkowski, from the class of 1969. It's appropriate that Chris is our anchorman tonight, because he was most certainly the anchorman of the excellent tennis teams in 1967, 68, 69. Chris arrived at Nichols as a sophomore, and his impact was immediate, running cross country in the fall and being a part of the inaugural varsity team in that sport. It was in the racket sports that Chris had the most impact. Tennis was his #1 game, though he became an excellent squash player after he was introduced to that sport by legendary Nichols tennis squash coach Austin Fox. In tennis, he instantly became our team, made our team better, taking over the #1 spot for the next 3 years and leading us to the only undefeated team and only Interstate League championship during Austin's long tenure as coach in 1968. I was not only Chris's teammate then, but we also played several years on Al Lito's 4-5 USTA team, known as Al's Pals. Chris remains one of the most creative players I've ever known. A clever shot maker, he moved his opponents around the court seemingly at will, but he particularly loved to finish things off a net where his great hands produced magic with the ball in the air. For the sheer joy of seeing the flabbergasted look on my face, he would take an attempted passing shot of mine to his right and whip his racket behind his back and hit a perfect behind-the-back volley for a winner. His delighted giggle of accomplishment haunts me to this day. It is with great pleasure that I welcome that joyous competitor, Chris Sadkowski, into the Nichols Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, George, for that introduction. It's clearly an honor to be selected amongst all these great athletes and people that have been part of the Nichols community. Thank you to Blake Walsh, who was super helpful in getting this organized and helping me get everything together here. Thank you to the selection committee and also to George Klepfer, chairman of the committee. George has been probably one of the most welcoming and friendly people that I've ever known in the Nichols community, and it's really been appreciated over the years. Thank you, George. And George is also a good sport, despite not being entirely happy with me taking over the #1 singles spot on the tennis team when I came to Nichols. But it did bring us our first and only interstate prep school tennis championship. So there you go. Yeah. Well, there's also one other thing I got to mention about that. I'm really glad to see Nichols improve their tennis courts, because the ones they had back in the day had this incredible slant towards the center of the net. And it was clearly an advantage for a tall person who had a big serve, and that was George Klepfer. So he's, I don't know if he ever lobbied to change that, but not during his time. I want to take this time to acknowledge a number of people, but also to make a pitch for supporting youth sports programs, camps, and lessons for those who wouldn't normally have that opportunity to develop their skills. My dad, Jay, introduced me to tennis, and he was a self-taught tennis player. And he encouraged me to attend the free Buffalo Evening News tennis school and in Delaware Park. And that free tennis school was where my game basically was developed. Leo Kronman ran the school back in the 60s, and his program influenced countless tennis players in the area. My heartfelt thanks go out to many people for their help and guidance. My parents, Jay and Ruth, right here, for encouraging me to attend Nichols and supporting me through many tournaments, many tennis tournaments. Nichols faculty and coaches, I want to thank them. Many are not still with us, but their legacies live on. Albert Sutter was my Spanish teacher, and he actually was what I consider one of my best coaches. He had a way of motivating you and educating you in the classroom, and he had such enthusiasm, and he had a great impact on my life, Albert Sutter. Fritz Zeller, for his guidance. I was quite the newbie to Nichols, out of North Buffalo, Riverside High School, and Fritz Zeller was pretty helpful as I came here. My cross-country coaches, Peter Kreitzer and Bill Morris, and of course, Austin Fox, an overall mentor and tennis and squash team coach. Nichols' parents were also really helpful to me. Ed Walsh, particularly Ted Walsh's dad, and Mr. Tracy, I can't remember his first name, Charlie and Don Tracy's father. So they were both very encouraging in my stay here at Nichols. My teammates from that pioneering cross-country team, wanted to mention a few people: Peter Ross, David Rudinger, and Clark Narens. On the squash team, Dan Roblin and Charlie Jacobs, who also played with me on our nationally ranked Penn squash team, and George Klepfer and David Skamura on our tennis teams. In closing, I want to thank my parents again, Jay and Ruth, and I also want to thank the athletic genes of the Sadkowskis. My father and my uncle are still playing tennis in their 80s and 90s. All right.
I wonder if I could ask all most recent and all members of our Hall of Fame to stand up. If you're here, all those that have been inducted previously. Let's give everybody a round of applause, please. I was looking through some old Hall of Fame citations and bios from the past few years, trying to come up with something to conclude our evening. Came across something by Joe Tomizzi. He wrote in his bio from his for his 2010 induction, quote, "It's difficult to put into words what it felt like to be a Nichols athlete. I guess the easiest way to explain it is this. When you put on the green and white jersey with that Nichols name across your chest, you felt honored and blessed. You felt as though you were part of something special. Looking back on it today, it was something special. It helped shape me into the person I am today," unquote. Well, tomorrow's homecoming, and all day long, young Nichols athletes will be wearing the green and white, feeling just the way Joe and many of us felt during our playing days. I hope you're able to come out tomorrow and support them and cheer on perhaps some future Hall of Famers of tomorrow. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. This draws this ceremony to a close, and let's go get some dinner. Oli, let's go. Okay. Thanks everybody.